Hello, everyone who has joined us today for this masterclass. Welcome to this episode 7 of our 2025 Masterclass series. Today, I'll be walking you through how to build a robust IT asset management practice using ServiceDesk Plus Cloud. So, now when we hear about IT asset management, we often think of spreadsheets, inventories, or simply keeping track of hardwares and softwares. But in reality, asset management is much more than that. If it is done right, IT asset management becomes the very foundation of security compliance and operational efficiency. If it is done wrong, it becomes the weakest link for attackers to exploit. So, hi, I'm Nandini, and this session I'll show you how to build a robust IT asset management practice inside ServiceDesk Plus Cloud. We'll look at real world failures, walk through best practices, and explore the tools available in ServiceDesk Plus Cloud to give you visibility, control, and governance across your entire IT environment. In today's episode, we'll be using the Enterprise Edition of ServiceDesk Plus Cloud. So ServiceDesk Plus Cloud comes in three different editions tailored to different needs. The Standard Edition offers a core ITSM functionalities like incident management, self-service portal, knowledge base, multi-site support, SLA management, and help desk reporting. This provides a solid foundation for service request handling. Next, we have the Professional Edition. This adds on to help desk management, IT asset and software management, purchase and contract management, which is ideal for organizations needing greater IT visibility and control. Finally, we have the Enterprise Edition, which delivers a complete ITSM suite, including problem management, change and release management, IT project management, service catalog, and an integrated asset and CMDB. This is perfect for large enterprises with complex service management needs. So, in this episode, first we'll explore the various discovery methods to bring in IT and non IT assets into Service Desk Plus Cloud. Then we'll look at how to build a comprehensive IT inventory, including your custom attributes for your hardware and software, so you can get a single source of all the details present within while managing your assets. Next, we'll discuss how to visualize the utilization and other metrics with reports so you can move from just tracking assets to actually making data driven decisions. We'll then dive into CMDB to see how mapping dependencies between assets and services help you assess risk and minimize disruption. So, finally, for this session, we will also have someone join us from a Zoho Contracts team who will take care of the session in showing you how Zoho Contracts integration can help streamline lifecycle management and also improve compliance. So, from the Zoho Contracts team, we do have Satyakirti who will be assisting us for the demo. So, by the end of this complete session, you'll have a clear understanding of how Service Desk Plus Cloud supports a modern and end to end IT asset management strategy. Let's begin with a story that may feel uncomfortably familiar. So, Zilka Life Sciences, a fictional but very realistic company, was enjoying a great success in the late 2024s. Their clinical trials had reached the final stages, sales were breaking records, and an IPO was only weeks away. So every employee working in the company was confident and were at an all-time high. So, however, something changed on a Monday morning when employees logged into their system. They were confronted with a chilling message saying, your systems has been encrypted. So, in a single moment, years of progress and billions of dollars in opportunity were suddenly at risk. So, this cause was not only the work of a clever hacker, it was the result of something far more basic and preventable, a complete breakdown in IT asset management. That is why it is so important to speak seriously about IT asset management. When the foundation is weak, the entire structure can collapse as well. So, what exactly went wrong at Zilka? It began when a contractor left the company and their laptop was never collected. So, for several months, that unmonitored device remained active and it became the attacker's entry point. Because Zilka did not conduct regular inventory audits, the missing asset went completely unnoticed. Weak software governance allowed unlicensed and vulnerable applications to remain in use, expanding the complete attack surface. So, outdated configuration data meant that when the response team finally acted on this issue, they lacked the complete context needed to respond quickly. So, what the attacker did, this was his best opportunity. He moved laterally throughout the complete network, planting backdoors and escalating privileges until Zilker realized what was actually happening. But by then, the damage was completely done. So, this was not a failure of firewalls or of any advanced security tools. It was a failure to track assets, to know where they were, and to assign responsibility for them. That is why Zelka's defenses ultimately collapsed. So, Zelka's losses were completely catastrophic. But the reality is that this risk is not unique to them. Every organization faces the same vulnerability. The first will be the financials, where regulators can impose fines in millions when inaccurate inventories contribute to a breach. If your IT asset data is unreliable, compliance frameworks like GDPR or HIPAA can quickly become liabilities instead of safeguards. So what next will be your reputation and credit? So S&P Global Ratings has clearly stated that an IT asset management is not just operational housekeeping, it is a core part of cybersecurity. A weak cybersecurity translates directly into weaker credit ratings. That means the cost of borrowing, investors' confidence, and even market valuation can all be damaged by a poor asset management. The third one will be the compliance. The CIS controls framework does not treat IT asset management as a minor detail. The very first two controls focus on enterprise assets and software assets. Without accurate inventories, every other control from patching to monitoring to incident response rests on an unstable foundation. So, this highlights the better picture. Aligning IT asset management with governance, risk, and compliance. When IT asset management is treated as a device list, its true value is completely lost. But if it is done right, IT asset management provides the visibility to enforce governance, the control to reduce risk, and documentation to prove all of your compliances. It tracks assets from procurement to disposal, closes attackers' blind spots, and even delivers evidence regulators demand. So Zilker failed because IT asset management was completely disconnected from GRC. So our mission with ServiceDesk Plus Cloud is to make the two of them inseparable. So Zilker's missteps showed why IT asset management best practices are essential. First thing would be ghost assets, that are items lingering in the in the inventory unnoticed, creates inefficiency and visibility, while unlicensed or vulnerable softwares can quietly compromise critical systems. When security incidents occur, responses are often slower and more complex because teams lack the right context and visibility. Deeper gaps make the problem completely worse. Suppose if we do have an outdated inventory practice which hinders effective tracking and management, or a poor software license management exposes organizations to compliance risks and stale configurations. So, what's the solution? The solution lies in a complete, robust IT asset management By identifying, tracking, and managing every asset through its complete life cycle, where organizations gain complete visibility of the IT environment. So, so, what does a good IT asset management include? It starts with discovering every asset on premises, or if it's remote, if it's an IT asset or an non IT asset. If it is a part of your business, it must be visible in the system. Next, we'll build a single source of truth, like an up to minute inventory where assets are classified, where ownership is clear and states are tracked. This isn't just a database, like asset management is not just about a database, it's like a foundation of all the details present and a foundation of control. So, from there, we'll also ensure adequacy, maintaining the right stock levels of IT and non IT assets and provisioning them to employees and contractors, and auditing regularly to confirm location and condition. Finally, you'll manage the full life cycle, like planning for an asset refresh, handling disposals, tracking your financials, or linking purchase orders. So, this isn't just like a busy work, this is like a discipline that will turn IT asset management from a cost center into a business enabler. And that is exactly what we'll be seeing now in action in ServiceDesk Plus Cloud. So, first, we'll begin with the asset management attributes. So, Zilka's first step was to stop treating assets as just a list and instead classify them meaningly for their business. In Service Desk Plus Cloud, hardware assets can have attributes like product type and service type, while softwares can be categorized by type, separating licensed softwares, freewares, or if any prohibited applications. So, together, categorization and accountability turns a flat inventory into a structured, reliable data. So, to look into asset data, we'll move back to the application. We'll move to the application. So, we'll go to setup and go to asset management. Here we have different sections in which different types are categorized, like your product type, your product, your service type, your service. All of these will go go into detail one by one. So first we have the product type. A product type is a high level classification of organizing assets by functionalities or characteristics. This will be a parent child hierarchy. In Service Desk Plus Cloud, all assets that's present over here is the parent type for all assets and components with the product type tab displayed by default. We'll click on new product type. We'll fill in the details all over here. What type of product it is, what is it going to do. We'll just add in a map over here and choose if it's IT, select the product type, parent product type, and if you want to add in a description you can add that as well. Once this is done, when you save the details, now you'll be having access to something called a fields tab. So this is where you customize the asset form by dragging and dropping in fields or using already available fields. So this form will contain all the details, whether it's selected or whether it's scanned in or however it's bought in. All of the details will be present in this section. Either you can create a new fields by dragging and dropping it within this section. I can just put in name and save it. So this field, or we can just put in a Mac ID and save. So this field will be visible within our form section, and when a new asset is created, added, or scanned in, the data will be automatically be pushed into these fields as well. If you do have any available fields that you'll be constantly using, this will be available in the available section over here. So let me show you an already created asset form in which I've added a complete list of all the data that's present. Let me just open up computer. And moving to the field section, you'll see this is a complete predefined section in which all of the details can be added in. Here also the same way I can drag and drop fields and add them, or I can go to the available section, which is added, and drag and drop fields again. So once I save this, this form will be visible to whoever is adding in assets manually or whether if it's scanned in. So after you save this form, you'll be able to see that this parent child categories that's listed over here, you can select on any parent product type and you can click on create child product type. This will open up a similar page as visible to the previous one when we're creating a parent product, and you can add in all the details and save over here. So once you've done adding in the details and you save them, all of the parent and child product types will be visible over here. It will give us a detail on what asset type it is, whether it's what category, the description, and if it's associated to any workflow or any life cycle. So moving on to the next tab, we have the products. So products are items your organization's purchases. When you click on new product, you can complete this form and save, like if it's this specific product Chromebook you have, you can enter the product name and you can save it. And once this is done, you will also have the ability to associate vendors to this product. You can just simply click on associate, select the vendor name, add in the price for the product, and save. So now this vendor will be associated to the product that's been added over here. So you can also make use of this icon to edit or delete the product as needed. Now, when we move into service types cover service categories like your maintenance, your infrastructure, or label, which is used when creating a new service. So, here to add in a new service type, you can just click on Add Service Type, give it a name and description. You can either enable the checkbox or disable it if needed. Like you can enable it to disable the service type or leave it unchecked. So, we do have next, the services. To add a new service over here, you will click on Add Service, select the service type over here, whether if it's going to be an infrastructure or an annual maintenance service, and we'll add in the service that we're going to be providing over here. We'll fill in the rest of the details, and once saved, all of your services are being listed over here. So all of the details that we're adding up over here, it is used to define an asset or categorize an asset in detail. So next one, we're moving on to vendors. Vendors supply your organization with assets. You can add a vendor by clicking on new vendor. We'll be filling in the form, and once you save in the details, your vendor will be added over here. So you can also import your vendors via CSV, and you can add in the vendors in bulk form. After you add in the vendors, you can also associate products over here. I can just select a product that's listed and add it over here, or even we can associate services. So for this vendor, we have the products over here as MacBook Pro, and associated services we're providing is a printer maintenance service. Next, moving on to software types. Software types include license, your prohibited softwares, or any sharewares includes. So when you click on new software type, you can add in the name, description, and that will get listed here as well. Next, moving on to software categories. So software categories group software such as accounting, internet, your graphics, and more. So we do have a default of 9 categories present within the environment, which cannot be edited or deleted. If you do want to add in a new one, you can click on new software categories, fill in the name, description, and then you can save the details as well. Next, moving on to software license types. So on the software license type page, You can click on New License Type. Here, you'll be able to enter the name. You can select who is the manufacturer. You can track by whether it's a computer or if it's a user license type. If the users allowed are multiple, single, or unlimited, or if you change it to computer, you can list it out whether its a location is by users or workstations. For workstations, the set allowed for installation is also tracked, like OEM license are non-transferable and expire if disposed, and all of the details can be added in here. So once this is added, you can save the details and it would get listed up over here again. Next, we'll move on to asset state. So asset state is very important for defining what state an asset is within the application, whether it should consume a license or whether it should not consume a license, whether it is missing, or which gives us a main state on which what is the asset doing in. So assets can be categorized by status like in use, in store, or expired. We do have some default present asset states. If you do want to add in a new asset state, simply click on new asset state and the details will be added in. Just I can click in, you can add an asset state, put in a description for it saved, and all of your asset states are being listed over here. Next, moving on to the next tab, we have something called an asset acknowledgement. So, when to actually configure an asset acknowledgement is when you want to ensure users confirm a receipt. Like when an asset is assigned to a user, you can enable this by checking in the box, then choose specific or all product types. Suppose I want an acknowledgement to be sent to a user if they're assigned with an asset. Suppose I do want it only to be performing for workstations only, I'll select that asset. But if I do want it to be sending in an asset acknowledgement form when an iPad or a laptop is also assigned to a user, only these product types, when assigned to a user, will receive an asset acknowledgement form. You can also define advanced criteria in this section, or if you want this to be applied to all of the product types, simply check in the all product types. Here as well, you can use the advanced criteria and filter out the option. So when a user is assigned with an asset, a form like this, which is also editable, you can the user will receive the asset acknowledgement form. They can confirm that they've received the asset. Let me click on preview and save and show you. So this is a form they'll receive. They'll read in the details if they have received the asset or not received the asset. All of this, when they submit this form, will be tracked under the asset. So when you go to the asset, you would be able to track the asset acknowledgement form. And once this is acknowledged, will also like the assignment of that asset to that user will also be complete. So in this, we did see on how we'll be setting out the basics of an asset management. The basics would be setting up the base like a product type, your product, your services, vendors. All of these details need to be set up before we are bringing in assets to the application. So once this is done, once your attributes are set up, the next step would be bringing assets into the system. So within ServiceDesk Plus Cloud, we do have multiple discovery methods to ensure no IT or non-IT assets were missed. We also run agentless scans and script-based scans to detect devices across domains and networks. We also have the ability to physically scan assets and track them via barcodes, QR codes, or RFID tags, which will allow them to be directly added into the inventory for accuracy. And if you do want to add bulk records of assets, we can add them by CSV or Excel files. So the key insight is asset discovery isn't like one size fits all. We're going to be combining multiple methods like a scanning based method, a like asset scanning, or like a barcode scanning, or we're going to be importing the asset details. So let's go back to the application. We'll see all of these methods. in the session itself. So let's go to setup and we'll go to probe. So ServiceDesk Plus Cloud operates on a probe server model, which requires remote probes to be installed as Windows services. So, what this probe does is it acts as a communication between the central server and probes is secured via HTTPS. So, all transfer that is done from your asset, any scanning is done that's done by the probe, all the asset details are scanned in by the probe and it's pushed into Service Desk Plus Cloud. So, probes scan your networks and domains to collect vital asset data. So, after the initial scan, probes send all of the details constantly to the application. So, first we'll look into how to install a probe. So, to add in a new probe, we'll first click Add Probe. We'll add in a probe name. We'll just put for now as a test probe. And we'll select the site that it needs to be added to. So after entering the details, let me just select Chicago and click on add. Once this is added, when we click on the show key, a pop-up will appear displaying the unique probe key. So we will be copying this key as it will be required during the probe installation process. So once we copy up this probe, we'll be able to download the probe and this will show us a pop-up and this probe can be installed within a machine in which you want to run the probe. So we'll once it's installed in the machine, we'll just double click the probe and finish the installation. After the installation is complete, a pop-up will appear asking you to provide the probe key, which we copied by selecting show key. So we'll enter the probe key to finish the complete setup. So once the probe is installed and it's connected via the key present over here, the probe will get listed over here and you would also have the ability to schedule this probe at a certain time. So when we click on the schedule icon, you would be able to schedule the probe either if you wanted to run daily, weekly, or monthly. You can schedule the scan at certain intervals, and once saved, the probe will run at the interval that we have predicted to do. Now, clicking on the clipboard icon next to the scheduling, we would be able to track here all of the tasks that the probe is performing. Suppose if the scan was aborted or if the scan ran successfully, all of that will be tracked within this clipboard section. So if it's under the status for waiting for probe to run, or if it is not running, or if it has failed, all of that will be tracked under the task section. And the last contact time with the probe will be mentioned over here. Which host it's installed in, all of the details will be mentioned over here itself. So how are we going to be using this probe to conduct the scan? So we have two different types of scanning methods within the application. The first one would be a domain scan, which is going to be using the probe. So this section allows you to add and manage various domains that are part of your network. First, we'll select the installed probe, click on new domain, select the probe that we just installed, and enter the rest of the names. So your the domain name, the domain controller name, or the domain controller will be the server where your Active Directory is installed and the domains are configured. Next, we'll enter the domain administrator credentials in the login name and password fields. So by default, once all of these are added, by default, software details will not be fetched from Linux and AIX machines. So if you do want the scanning to be done, you would have to enable software scan for Linux and AIX machines. So this is not enabled by default because licensed software on these systems is minimal. So if you want to include these software from these machines, we can just simply enable it and softwares will also be tracked within the application. So once this is added, you can simply click save, and the domain will be added in here. You can schedule a scan based on the probe that we've selected, and you can edit and delete the domain as needed. So apart from a domain scan, we also have something called a network scan. So in this, you'll be allowed to configure networks that are part of your enterprise and scan those networks for Linux and Windows workstations that are not part of a domain. So these machines are grouped under the configured network. So simply to add a network, click on new network, first select the installed probe and define the network. Suppose you want to scan an entire network, you can put in the entire network details, or if it's a specific range, specify the from and to. And if you want to exclude devices, just click on exclude devices and you would be able to add in the IP address of the devices that needs to be excluded. Next, provide any relevant details about the network in the description field. Associate appropriate Windows, Linux, or SNMP credentials. So these credentials can be added in from the credential library. Like if you do have a predefined credentials that's present over here, you can add in this from the credential library, or you can manually add in all of the credentials over here. So you can also associate multiple credentials over here and add them within this network that we're going to be scanning. And the probe will iterate through all of them during this scan. So for devices such as printers, routers, and switches, make sure to associate a proper SNMP credential. Without it, SNMP's device scanning will not be performed. And by default, again, within like in domain scan, within network scan as well, software details are not fetched from Linux, Mac, and AIX machines during the scans. You can just enable it and enable the software scan for these machines as well. So finally, you can save this page, and a network scan based on the schedule done on the probe added onto the probe. The network scan will be frequently conducted. So apart from these two scanning methods, we have also something called a self-scan script. So navigating to settings, and if you go to the scan script, if scanning conduct conditions are not met, like if you do have a limited network access or any standalone machines, here in those cases, self-scan scripts can be used. So these scripts can be run on a standalone machine, and either you can update this results either to a probe or directly into ServiceDesk Plus Cloud. So you can simply download the scan script, run it in your application. If it is inside your network with probe access, you can configure self scan script to send data to the probe. But if it is outside your network, if it's a machine outside your corporate environment, you can configure it to send data directly to the Service Task Plus Cloud environment. So this ensures like any standalone or any off-site assets are also accurately discovered and added to your inventory. So all of the details are mentioned on how to install it, how to scan the machines, and if it's not reachable by the probe, we can also look into the details present over here. Apart from domain, network, self-scan script, we can also bring in assets by scanning them and adding the details into the application. So for this, we'll go to the assets section. And we'll go to barcode and QR code. So asset scanning through barcodes, QR codes, and RFID tags is available via the web interface as well as mobile apps. So on the web UI, if we navigate to the section and click on scan vendor codes, you can scan codes using USB scanners or even design custom asset labels. Like Using the add asset, you can just simply click here, make use of the USB scanners and scan in the assets and bring in details, or even bring out new codes for new assets or existing assets. So this feature enables like seamless asset identification, tracking, and brings it into the asset management. Finally, apart from all of this, we also have the ability to import in data. So the import wizard allows you to quickly add in assets and upload them via a CSV file. You just simply click on assets. If you want to add in records, select appropriately and choose the file format present. We also have a sample CSV which can be used for a sample, like creating a sample asset CSV. Just click on that, it will get downloaded. You can refer to that and create a proper CSV and get the asset details imported into the environment. So now we were able to see different types of scanning methods that are present within our application. We do have domain scan, network scan, and for machines that are not present within the application, we do have self scan scripts. If you want to just scan an asset with barcodes or QR codes, you can simply make use of the barcode and QR code scanner and scan them, or also bring in assets via CSV or XLS files. So moving on, once assets were discovered and added into the application, the next step is to building a comprehensive inventory. So Zilka's inventory went beyond laptop servers to include IT, non-IT, consumables, components, the software license and agreements. They also set up asset workflows to track states from in stock to assigned or retired. Regular asset audits were conducted. So this validated records against physical reality about their usage, their location, and ownership. So we'll explore all of these features within the application. So within the assets platform, let's go to yes, all assets. This platform allows you to manage both IT and non-IT assets within a single console. For IT assets, you can track in your computers, your servers, your network, equipments, your mobile devices. Just opening up one asset, just open up a random one. It gives you a complete detailed information, including serial numbers, your purchasing dates. Let's open. Just a second. So within the section, you'll be able to see all of the serial number, the purchase dates, all of the details, whether it's hardware or if it is software related. All of the details are managed within the same section. You can see all of the details associated to this asset. You can also see non-IT assets within the application, such as your office furniture, your machinery, can also be tracked in the same way. So, example, if you open up a non-IT asset like a CCTV, you would see its condition, which location it is in, whether it's assigned to a department or a user, and all related documents to this purchase orders or its maintenance records. All of that is managed over here. Apart from IT and non-IT assets, we also have consumables that are managed. So consumables include your printer cartridges like your cables or batteries. You can maintain a real-time stock levels and link consumables to vendors to completely avoid stockouts. So similarly, we have components as well, and like spare parts like hard drives, memory modules, or any specialized equipment. All of that is added within your component section. So apart from all of your assets, apart from assets, your IT, your non-IT, your components, your consumables, we also have the ability to track in your softwares present within the scan all of the softwares present within your enterprise. So when you go to softwares, this section lists all the softwares discovered during the scanning, along with details like the name, the version. You can also mark these applications as authorized or unauthorized. Next, moving on to license agreements. Here you can store and track your vendor contracts, including validity dates and renewable terms. We can also track in your software licenses. So in this section, this helps you to manage your license keys, assign them to users or devices, and also track the compliances. Next, under software, we have the service packs. So this area lists all of the service packs and updates installed across all of your systems, helping you to stay secure and up to date with all of your service packs. Moving on to the next one would be our asset replenishment. So this feature ensures that critical IT and non-IT resources such as your consumables and spare parts or your IT assets like your laptops are always available. You can define a reorder level for each item in the inventory. So let me click on new replenishment. So here we can from the inventory view, technicians can quickly see which items are running low and create a purchase request or orders directly. So you can just select the product that is needed, select all products, what is the replenishment threshold. So how many is present within the within the asset section will be listed in the available quantity, and if the replenishment threshold is 3, if it falls below 3, a notification will be automatically sent, and asset technicians can track all of that within the replenishment section and reorder accordingly. So that resources like printer cartridges or keyboards or cables or monitors are always stocked, and this prevents a downtime. So next, we have another feature called the asset audit. So the asset audit feature within the application, it ensures that asset records remain accurate across the organization. From a technician's perspective, audits can be launched directly from the application or from mobile apps, and from a user side as well. When they log in into the application, they would be able to see an asset audit. So we have two types of asset audit. We have a technician conducted audit and a user's conducted audit. So when you click, let's open up an audit that is already in progress, and I'll show you what details will be necessarily added in. So within a technician conducted audit, you can enter the details of the audit name, all when it is starting and when it is supposed to end. You can define asset conditions over here. Suppose we're running an asset audit for all the product types or for specific product types, and in which site it needs to be configured in. So let me create a technician conducted audit, and we'll select the technician conducted audit and we'll put in a date that would be from tomorrow, and we'll finish it up 1 week later. And once we save, it will give me the ability to set up the asset conditions. So if I click on add conditions, I can either select all product types or if it's going to be specific product types. So I'll just put in all of my computer assets over here, and we'll also add in our workstations, any iPads, any laptops, any software, mobile tab, all of the products that are needed, we'll add in. We'll also have the ability to set up an advanced criteria. If not needed, uncheck the box and save. So once this is added in, all of the assets in this conditions will be the ones that will be scoped. We can set in the site configurations as to where, in which site should this audit be conducted in. So I can simply select the site. Let me select Chennai. And once I add in the site, I will also be able to define whether it is for anybody in the site or for any selected technicians. I can select specific technicians, or I can run it for all the technicians in that site. So once I save and once the audit is started, it will give me a list of all the assets that are in scope. So within this site, there are three workstations present, which is a MacBook. So the assets in scope will be listed over here. The audited assets that needs to be audited can be selected, mark as audited, fill in the relevant details. If it's assigned to a user, I can add in the location and save, and this will automatically move into the audited tab. If any missing assets, we can move them accordingly to the sections that is needed. So looking into an already created a technician audit, we would be able to see that this audit is for workstations in Amsterdam. All the assets in scope are listed here. Pending, audited, your missing assets, all of them are tracked under different sections within the same page. Apart from a technician conducted audit, we have also a user conducted audit. So, what's the difference between both is in a user conducted audit, users will simply receive a notification listing the assets assigned to them, and through their web interface, they can acknowledge the device that they have, where they'll receive a pop-up on the right side and they can simply audit their assets within that pop-up itself. So audit once an audit is completed, you would also be having the ability to pull in reports for this audit, and this can be like shared for internal or external compliance requirements. Another feature to look out for within the application is the asset loan feature. So in addition to audits, ServiceDesk Plus Cloud also supports asset loans. Assets such as laptops or projectors or any tools can be temporarily issued to users or department. So all of your loanable assets are present over here, and who it is loaned to, all of the details are present within this section. So this system tracks the loan history, ensures proper check-in and check-out management, who it is loaned to, who bought up the loan. You can click on new loan, select the user that we are loaning the asset to, select the department, add in the comments, and add the assets that we're going to be loaning the user. Simply select the assets, and once saved, we'll be able to define on who it is being loaned to, and all of the details are being tracked under over here. So apart from this asset loan registry feature we also have assets life cycles. So when we move to the automation section under life cycles and we go to assets, so life cycles or workflows automatically automate how assets move through different stages, like from procurement to disposal. All of that is tracked over here. Suppose let me show you a sample life cycle that I have in place, and this is applies to all assets, or if I do want it to apply to specific assets, I can select the assets as well. So if in case I'm just selecting a Chromebook, in this I've defined the life cycle in which all of the asset stages are marked over here. If an asset is bought in here, I can select a transition for a before, during, or after, and then it moves to an in-store stage. And once it's in-store, if it's assigned to a user, it will move into the in-use stage. And relevantly, you can define the complete life cycle of an asset from start till the end, till it's like disposed. So we'll look into another life cycle as well, just a sample viewing for you. So this is applies to workstations. When a new asset is bought in, it can be defined to be an in-store. We're going to be defining three life stages for that, whether if it's going to be installing a software, it will be installing and then come back to in-store. If it's in use, it's going to be defining multiple stages, like the ones that are highlighted in orange, whether it's an in repair or if it's going to be missing, disposed, or expired. All of the stages completely from the new asset, whether it's in repair or if it's installing any updates, if it's a faulty asset, all of that is tracked over here itself. And where would you see these asset stages is once you define a life cycle and you go to all assets, we'll go to a specific asset. This state will be defined in the top section. So currently this asset is in use, it's assigned to a user. So if this becomes a faulty asset, I can simply click on the faulty asset and the state will be in repair. So after that, if the repair is done properly, I can just simply click on repair successful. It will move back in store. And then if I'm going to be assigning a user, then I can just click on assign user. It will give me a pop-up on who to assign it to. If I do want to select a different project and move it to, I can just simply select, assign the user who I'm going to be using, and then click save. So once this is done, we have defined a complete life cycle. So you cannot put from in use, we cannot put it to a dispose transition if it is not defined within the life cycle. So other than this, we do have notifications that is present within the application. You can define predefined notifications. If an asset is assigned to a user, we can put it under asset notifications and the notifications will be sent to the users. If you want to edit the notification that's being sent out, you can simply select the pencil icon and edit the form that is displayed. So when an asset is assigned to a user, a notification that is displayed will be sent to them, and the asset acknowledgement link that we had added in before, you can also add it here. So when they receive a notification like this, they can simply click on the asset acknowledgement link, they'll be redirected to a page and they can acknowledge the asset as well. We do have different type of predefined notifications that can be enabled according to your requirement. So in this section, we saw how different IT, non-IT assets are present, your consumables, your components, how we're going to be tracking different asset states, where workflows are life cycles. We defined replenishment thresholds. We also saw how to send in notifications where the application, your asset loan, also your asset audit features, different features that are present within our application. So moving on to the next one, we would be seeing on asset reports. So within the application, we do have pre-built reports to track different cases like an asset depreciation, any loaned asset, or any even the asset audit that we conducted, we would be able to pull in a report for that. So we'll simply go to the reports module. Here we do have all different types of predefined reports over here. Suppose you want a report for computers or the servers, or if you do want to see an asset loan report, we do have predefined reports. Additional to that, you can run your custom reports. Simply select the assets, or additional to the assets, like simply click on assets, filter down, or the asset audit feature also that we explained before. We can pull in an asset audit report also that was conducted. Asset state history. So we do have different modules present. You can simply click on that and view the asset reports. Apart from this, we do have also the ability to schedule these reports and also pull in query reports. You can simply submit your query details to a support team and they would be enabling the asset query reports from our backend, and you would be able to view in the reports within this section. So apart from the reporting, we'll go to the next topic. So the final piece to this complete asset management is CMDB, which is a configuration management database. So Zilka connected assets to a bigger picture by customizing configuration item attributes, defining relationships between assets, and creating business views. So this improved not only asset management but also change and incident management, which planned changes which are highlighted at high risk services. So let's look into this feature. We'll move back to the application and go to the CMDB module. So this is a centralized repository that stores all information about all significant entities in your IT environment. It contains your configuration items or CIs, which are critical resources for your organization. So by default, when you open up, you would be able to see the CMDB module, the business views that are present. So, so to view all the CI types, you can expand the CIs, the present over here. So the CMDB interface is divided into two main sections. On the left panel, you'll see the hierarchical tree of CI types. You can expand or collapse this tree. On the right side, you would be able to see a list of CIs for the selected type. Suppose application, your applications are listed. If it's buildings, the buildings are listed. Certificates, the certificates are listed. So to add in a new configuration, like if I want to add in a new CI under application, I'll simply click on new, fill in the details required, and once saved, this would be listed under the CI types, under the CI that we have opened up. So now let's open up a sample CI. In this case, we'll open up OPM QA9. So the CI details page, just give us a second. So opening up this CI, this details tab displays the basic configuration of the CIs, which includes your field name, your description, and any custom attributes. Under relationships tab, this shows all connections this CI has with other items present within our data. So to add a new relationship, you can simply click add relationship, select the type, and choose the relationships we are creating. Once this is created, an inverse relationship is automatically established. Within the History tab, it records all operations performed on the CI, such as any modifications or any updates. You can also filter out this history to see any modification or updates. So, to visualize dependencies between different assets with the asset that we're seeing right now, we could view a relationship map. So this opens up a graphical map that displays the CI's connection and interactions with different IT infrastructure cases. So apart from this, let's also look into business views. Let's go back and open up business views. So here you'll see a list of all the business views we have. I've created two business views for viewing. For example, let's open up a business view called the map 2. So this opens up an interactive map that visualizes key assets and the relationships within the corporate network. So this map shows your servers, your applications, network devices, anything connected to a single, suppose we have a backup service over here. It does have another asset, that CI that's associated. To the CI, different CIs are associated. If I click on this, it will show us all the CIs, all the associations, and if it has any downtimes, all the details are mentioned over here. So at the top of the map, you'll be able to zoom in or out or rearrange nodes according to horizontal viewing, if it's a vertical or a force view. So this business view highlights service dependencies. So if a single server goes down, if suppose this server goes down, you can instantly see which applications and which services are impacted as well. So this makes impact analysis or change planning. Suppose a change is conducted on this SDP K12, I can see what all services and what all CIs are affected by this change. This makes change planning and incident response much easier. So finally, you can export this business view as a PDF or or as a file, which makes it easier for a visual reporting during meetings. So in this section, we saw how like different CI types, like our relationships, are maintained within the CMDB module. We also built like an extensive business view to visualize a complete IT infrastructure for any impact analysis, whether an IT issue is brought up or any change is created within any specific servers. So, before we move into the next section that's handled by our contracts team, we'll first recap the complete one. So, within this complete session today, we explored various asset discovery methods that include your probe scanning, your barcode scanning, domain network scanning, also how to conduct import of bulk assets. We also focused on managing IT hardware and software licenses, helping you track usage, its compliance, and renewals also effectively. We also covered tracking assets through their life cycle from procurement to retirement, giving you a complete visibility over their status. We showed how to generate reports that visualize IT utilization and key metrics with using pre-built templates or fully customizable reports. Finally, we looked at visualizing all configuration item relationships and understanding how they impact other IT services, enabling better impact analysis and like a far faster decision making. So now I'll hand it over to my colleague Satyakirti from the contracts team. They'll walk you through how integrating Zoho contracts with ServiceDesk Plus Cloud streamlines the contract management for your IT service processes.
Hey, thanks a lot, Nandini. Good morning, audience, or should I say good afternoon? I think we're almost there into the afternoon here. So thank you so much for joining. So I'll quickly walk you through the product Zoho contracts and what it's going to offer your organization, probably the legal team, yes, because the product is legal centric, and how we are going to help you streamline the contract management process with SDP is what we're going to see for the next 5 to 10 minutes. So, what is a CLM? A CLM is a legal tool that helps you streamline your contract management process, starting from the drafting of contracts, initiating it for approvals, sharing it with your internal stakeholders for collaboration and review, the ability to negotiate your contracts with your vendors, especially since it's going to be managing assets, you'll be entering into a lot of contracts with your vendors, right? Let's say that you put a contract with Samsung or Apple, a lot of contracts would be there in place for the products or the assets that you procure. So you'll be able to manage the entire life cycle of the contract in one roof without the need of juggling into multiple applications. So when an organization adopts to a CLM, there are three things that they're going to get benefited. And one is going to be reducing the turnaround time for the contracts that have been executed. Or let's say that you start the life cycle by drafting it, initiating it for internal and external approvals, negotiations, execution, e-signatures, and post-award activities. So all these activities, when you're able to do it in one roof, that's going to simplify your process, reducing the turnaround time. Number two is when it comes to contracts, compliance also comes into play, right? So you can increase the compliance and governance in your organization for the contracts that you execute. And through reports and analytics that we have within the tool, everything is going to be handled in one place, and you don't have to track it through an Excel sheet or something like that to gather all the insights that you have with your contracts. And almost like our customers, very recently we got a testimonial from a customer saying that they were able to reduce the turnaround time for around 75% of the time for the contracts that they have executed in their organization. Now, what is the situation here? Like, why do you need a CLM solution in your organization? Now, let's assume that you are from the IT or the procurement team where you'll be managing the assets in SDP. Now, there is also something called your legal team, who are the backend heroes who will be working on the contracts with your vendors, right? So, a contract request will come from your sales or from your team, and your legal will be initiating the contract. Or let's say that your vendor itself sharing a draft with you for the contracts, you'll be able to initiate it. Then the authoring happens, involving all the relevant stakeholders. So here's the situation. So your a contract request comes from your organization from any department, let it be sales or procurement. You'll be able to initiate it from scratch, And it goes for the authoring where the relevant stakeholders are brought for the review for the changes. Then it goes for an internal acceptance, and then finally it goes for for an external negotiation with your vendor where the payment terms would be negotiated for the assets that you purchase. And finally the execution happens where both the parties would be signing the contract. Now, once the signature is over, until the execution is what we call the pre-award stage, and we also have some activities as part of the post-award where you can add obligations, amend your contracts, renew your contracts, terminate your contracts, and have basic insights about your contract status and how the contracts are performing. So this is a typical CLM situation. Now let's take you to the product directly over here. And my sincere apologies for not being able to share the screen earlier. Yeah, so this is the user interface where you can see all the contracts in one roof. So whether it's in draft stage, approved, negotiated, signed, or active, then the pending contracts under the pending stages over here, contracts that require your approval and obligations, then the amount that you spend for the assets that you procure from your vendor, the amount of money that you spend from your revenue, gain and loss of terminated contracts along with basic contract activity. We have a calendar on the right side to display the overdue obligations, reminders, and expiring contracts. And this contracts module would be your central repository where you can see all your contracts in one place. And here is where your life cycle of the contract begins. You can either start a contract here by selecting the template of your choice, filling in the few basic details like contract start date, end date, who's going to be your vendor, your counterparty details, and then in an instant, a document would be generated for you to take it forward. So assume that this is a sample contract that I have with Samsung or Apple for the products that I'm purchasing from the vendor. And based on this, I have come up with a small use case. And before running into the use case, I'll also touch upon these modules here. Activities module will have all the approvals and obligations that are pending. Counterparties module will have all your customer and vendor information along with the contact so that you'll be able to see all the contracts that you have created with them. Reports would give you insights on the contract status. Let's say that you want to pull a report of active contracts, you'll be able to generate this report and extract it as an MS Excel or CSV. Then activity or milestone, user-based reports. And let's say that you want to check how many contracts that you have with a specific counterparty, like a vendor or something like that. You'll be able to pull that report here. Within the admin module, as part of the configuration, you'll be giving the organization details, configuring e-signature for your signing aspects. So part of Zoho contracts, you're also getting an e-sign tool free of cost. So you don't need a DocuSign or an Adobe Sign subscription individually procured for the CLM. You get a sign solution along with contracts. Then for the document settings, you'll be able to configure the regional settings and header and footer. We have clause library. You'll be able to create your templates from scratch. We have a customization space to add your departments, clause types, categories, and whatnot. For the data protection, we have the highest level of compliance, which is GDPR. And Zoho has its own security and data privacy, which has been enabled since the tool is also legal compliant. We have logs for your auditing purpose, along with a few integration as well. So let me just touch upon the use case that I have you. What am I going to do with contracts and SDP? So an SDP is where you will be storing your assets and you'll be having a lot of contracts with your vendors, right? So you'll be having those records here, right? So I have connected and automated a process from Zoho Contracts to SDP with the power of Zoho Flow. Zoho Flow is our integration platform where you can connect both the applications through custom logic or let's say multiple actions or triggers. So here, the contract state moved to active is the trigger where both the parties have signed the contract and the contract details from the summary, like what is the contract start date, who's the vendor, what is the effective date, and when the contract is active from. So all these details will be flowing from here to SDP through this flow. So let me show you the custom logic that I applied. So I created a custom function using Deluge scripting. So this is the code. Let me also show you the code here. So I'm going to create a vendor automatically once a contract is signed in Zoho Contracts. And I'm also creating a record in the contracts module, which is there in ServiceDesk Plus. So this is the code that I'm using. And let me show you the sample record in the history where the input and output would be shown. So the input comes from the contract status moved to active, which has all the contract details from the CLM. And this flows into SDP through the custom code, which has the input and output over here. Now let me show you the record created in SDP. So this contract record in the Service Desk Plus portal will have the contract information, the name, the title, the who's the contract vendor, what is the contract term, when it is active from. And if you want additional details that needs to be flowed from contracts to SDP, you can also do that through the scripting. Now, this is a simple use case. Now, if you would like to understand about our CLM tool and how this can be helpful for your sales or your legal team or for your HR team, anybody who is managing contracts, anybody who's taking care of product purchases through agreements, this would be a right solution because you'll be able to manage your contracts in one roof without the dependency of multiple products. So, if you are interested in a one-on-one consultation with our team, with our product experts, feel free to book a session using the link that has been given in the chat box. And if you have any other use cases that you would like to fulfill using our CLM, you can feel free to drop an email to support@zohocontracts.com, and our team can certainly assist you by all means. So now that I don't have a lot of time to cover the entire product, and I would insist that if you are interested for a demo of Zoho Contracts, you can feel free to book a session with us. You can get an extensive idea about how this CLM can be really helpful for your business, for the respective team that is taking care of contracts in your organization. So that's it from my end. Thanks for the opportunity. And over to you, Nandini.
Thank you so much, Satyakirti. It was a wonderful session. So, this brings us to the end of today's session. Thank you all for being a part of this masterclass. Additionally, if feedback means a lot to us, please do take a moment to fill out the feedback form at the end. If you would like to explore these topics in greater depth, we do have a plenty of resources available to support you. So you can visit our support portal at servicedeskplus.com. You can also dive into the admin guide for detailed configuration steps and best practices. And if you prefer hands on learning, check out our tutorial videos and participate in user community for real world insights. For direct support or feedback, you're always welcome to write it to us hello@servicedeskplus.com. We hope today's masterclass helped you gain a clear understanding of how to work in asset management effectively. Thank you for joining us.